All right, welcome everyone to today's webinar on our CPD product suite, which we are calling a smarter range of CPD packages. My name is Aaron Dunn, of course, CEO and founder of Smarter SMSF, and I'm joined by David Devine, my sales and business development manager. David, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Aaron. Yes, there's quite a good range of information to gain from this session.
Yeah, so this is, again, one of a new range of sessions that we have been putting together over the past probably 6 months or so to help people better understand what our product suite looks like, and then how the different document packages may apply to that. And David, you regularly have conversations with people, I guess, about the suitability of our suite of CPD and where they might actually fit. And therefore, these sessions now help those type of individuals and organizations to better understand just where some of our CPD packages might actually suit them and their staff.
That's correct. Yeah, I can chat with somebody on the phone. I can, do a little bit of a show and tell, but this type of presentation that's recorded and people can watch in their own time can go into a little bit more detail about what it is that the Learning Suite's all about, what's the purpose of it, how can they benefit from using it. And it's not just a case of, well, I need some CPD hours, I need to go to a webinar. As you'll find out in today's session, there's a lot more benefits to actually finding a membership ultimately, and taking care of your CPD needs.
Yeah, so we get the broad spectrum, people that kind of need to tick a box at the end of the year. But we have a broad range of training that is provided across virtually every month of the year, and whether that's delivered online as we do today in a live environment, whether that's through a pure e-learning way in which we provide through our SMSF Foundations course, or face-to-face, which we are right in the middle of right around Australia in delivering our SMSF Day event. So getting an understanding of what these CPD solutions actually look like and how they may suit you and your business, again, is all about what today's session is going to cover. And you can see really what we have set out there in the agenda for you today. So one of the key things that has been a constant over the last few years has just been this ongoing challenge of keeping up to date. Now, this goes back when we did our Future of SMSF report some time ago now, and clearly recognized currency of knowledge as the #1 challenge. And we have continued to test and measure this, and it did and has continued to, and arguably will continue to highlight that currency of knowledge is the biggest challenge that sits within for individuals and then within the firm. So it's not only that one individual, but it's the application of that knowledge across the organization for staff to be able to successfully undertake that work. Why is that the case? Well, it's because legislation continues to move and evolve. We've seen only changes take off from the 1st of July 2022 that again move the needle around what we need to do and understand about who can make contributions, how benefits can be accessed, and the interplays between those two things as well. We've got a range of outstanding measures. If we think about the Commissioner's finalisation of law companion ruling on the non-arm's length expenditure requirements, and the impact of that ruling with some relief that sits around, and the government still looking at that topic as well. So these all form part of our role in ensuring that we are keeping you up to date and overcoming those challenges that would sit with you each and every day. So timing, therefore, is absolutely paramount to ensure that we deliver that to you in a timely fashion and enables you to understand the impact that it may have on your clients, so that you can take timely action to support what they have, whether that be from an issues perspective or, more importantly, probably from a strategic context. And then, as I touched on earlier, it's all about saying, well, yeah, I might be a sole practitioner, I need to keep myself up to date, but we do have staff in many instances. So therefore, who is getting access to that CPD training? Who is getting access to the knowledge and information? And then how is that being translated through an organization, whether that's upwards or downwards, and therefore having the right CPD solution in place to suit the different skill sets of the different individuals in organizations becomes absolutely critical as well. So who's gaining the knowledge and how is it being applied across the relevant team members? And ultimately, it does come down to CPD obligations. And whether you're an accountant, a financial advisor, a solicitor, an auditor, tax practitioner, all of these requirements must be met, whether it's done on an annual or triennial basis. So ensuring that the CPD that you're working through enables you to tick those boxes as well. So David, anything you want to add, I guess, across what we're seeing from that point?
No, not at this stage, Aaron. Thanks.
Yep. So in terms of, I guess, why us, the way in which target the delivery of CPD training is done in a range of ways. But ultimately, what we want to provide is something that is reliable, something that is scalable. So we've been doing webinar-based training for the best part of 9-10 years, and doing it in a way that provides a low-cost automated model. And that automated model in today's environment, e-learning, is a critical tool to the success of delivering education more generally. And in our role, we deliver that education in different forms, again, whether that is face-to-face, live streamed, e-learning, and we deliver it to different levels of expertise as well. So that may be from a specialist level, providing technical updates, right through to those that may be in the earlier stages of their career, where the foundations course would be something that would be more relevant. But it is all about efficiency in delivery and then making sure that it is cost effective to you. So this has been really the core of our business since inception, which naturally started as the SMSF Academy. And we do have a ever-growing number of firms that we do provide a range of subscription-based services to, but equally we have a large number of firms that access both our training and documents on a pay-as-you-go basis. And one of the things that we can hang our hat on is that we are recognised as one of only a handful that have an accredited educator status with the SMSF Association. And what you can see with this recognition is that it is a logo that sets us apart from other education providers as a pillar of SMSF education in the sector. So the SMSF Association in its own right really encourages its members to look for this brand to ensure that, and they are comfortable that we have gone through all the appropriate checks and balances and due diligence to be upholding a level of technical competency and the delivery of that training to improve and enhance SMSF knowledge within the community. So if you want to find out a little bit more as to who and why, you can see the link there about our accreditation from the SMSF Association in this space, again, recognising us as one of the leading education providers in the industry. And ultimately, it's about outcome. It gives you the confidence in the content that we are delivering is current, is technically proficient in what you need to do, and enables you to keep carrying on and doing the work that you need to do in your own right. So David, I might hand over to you and maybe provide a little bit of detail about the ways in which we deliver some of these different training.
Thank you, Aaron. So you've got, well, firstly, I'm going to point everybody to the bottom right-hand corner. There's actually a calendar of events. Yep. And those calendar events are broken up into a range of different types of delivery methods. So one is webinars, and there's a series of events and webinars taking place every single week.
Yep.
So we've got on our screen there, you can see a quarterly update. There's a number of those quarterly events taking place. We've got our Super Unpacked that takes place twice a year. We've got specialist topics that usually gets driven from our attendees as we provide some surveys. So that in itself, laps back into what we are providing out to the marketplace. We've got promotional webinars, especially about the federal budget. One coming up in October, I believe.
Yep. A re-budget.
Yes. So there's more to CPD training than just webinars. Face-to-face events. Right now, you're about to fly off to the western part of West Australia, and we've already held. And I've received a huge amount of feedback from those who have already been on the East Coast in your face-to-face events. We've got a number of other half-day masterclasses. Some of these are actually virtual streamed. It's not all face-to-face. And we learned quite a bit from the last 2 years in sort of how we present and being able to do that successfully online. And that's just not for those who are in a metropolitan region. It does cater for, therefore, regional areas as well.
Yeah, and we recognise that. I think that is an important thing, that we have been quite resolute in wanting to get back to face-to-face events. The feedback initially at the start of the year supported a second half, sort of kickoff to get back to some face-to-face stuff, the ability to integrate and connect with your peers and so forth. But we also recognise the importance of touching a much broader range of people as well that virtual events can do, but also think about whether that could be done not only in course in live stream training, but course-based training as well, which we do have available through our SMSF Foundations course. So David, you touched on that thing of our CPD calendar, so I might just quickly go there at the moment. So one of the things to note is that we will be showing events on our page that go through, and you can click on one, and I'm going to do today's. So you'll always be able to keep up to date with what's going on. You'll be able to register for those sessions and get the detail of those. But equally, on the top of the page, we will be providing an updated schedule for you to be able to see what is going on. And David, I might get you to elaborate around the colour coding that you mentioned before, again, just to help people understand this a little bit further.
And that is a moving object. What you look at potentially today, by the end of next week, there will be more events being added. So the message there is to keep coming back to it. Even if you've enrolled with a particular event, there might be some other topic that's right now required
related
for engagement. And even if you're dealing with a certain need with a client perhaps, and there's a topic pops up, go ahead and enroll. The color coding has been really beneficial from feedback from everybody. If you do have a membership, there's a number of hours that we will be delivering, of course. So hence the green CPD webinar event. So that is potentially a technical session with CPD allocation of knowledge areas and a CPD certificate being issued. Face-to-face event, pretty straightforward, self-explanatory. Product demonstration. Here is an example of one that you're witnessing today. So it may be something that's a technical, but it's practicalities of product with a little bit of technical thrown in along amongst the way. So
and that's the important part. So we've moved from being just an education business into a business that really provides implementation tools. So documents is naturally the key part to that. And these type of webinars help connect the dots. So to understand the why behind a particular document existing, or why we have a subscription package and how that naturally suits you. So David, as you rightly said there, these are quite common now in our suite of training that we run, but deliberately so because of the importance of our members and those generally needing to understand the connection between those two things. And just going back to the live events, I guess not only are these live events that we may be holding in our own right, but we'll also incorporate things where we are participating. So whether that is me, so for example, I've just come back from the Gold Coast where I've presented at the SMSF Association's Technical Summit, all the way through to other events where we might be sponsoring and or presenting at. So again, we try and give everyone an understanding where we may be and where you can try and connect with us, whether it is face-to-face or in an online forum.
All
right. So let's go back to our slides and have a quick chat about, I guess, one of the first areas, our SMSF Foundations course. So David, I might hand that back to you again.
Yes, I'm going to say straight up that I could be talking for about 40 minutes on this topic alone, which we clearly don't have the time for.
Yep.
So there is actually a webinar that we've recorded on the foundation course that we'll show you where it's located a little bit later on the presentation in the knowledge base area that you can actually link to.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that we have made some changes to modules from the 1st of July 2022.
Yep, that's right. So the course is made up of 7 modules. And something that's just come to mind right now is that I've had a couple of inquiries this week that the environment outside our organisation to do with RG146, for example, has disappeared. So there's people now inquiring about, well, where do I get some knowledge and accreditation in the SMSF environment? Not just for new staff joining a business, existing practitioners, or someone even looking to enter into another licensee, for example. So there's a great range of need out there for our course. As I mentioned, about 7 modules. It's a learning about the life cycle of a super fund, the explanation of where the super industry is. The course also looks at content around where SMSFs sit within the landscape. The course does drill down into a lot of detail about what is an SMSF, the rules, and the requirements. So there is actually a downloadable course outline that I can either send you or you can access within the website.
Yeah, and one of the things, David, that we do see, which is it was a very deliberate approach that we did initially as well in this space, was the number of people that then not only use it from an education point of view, but then use it as a knowledge resource for them going forward. So the fact that the rules keep changing, and we spoke at the very beginning about the number one challenge in the industry is currency of knowledge. What we then do find, and which is why we built this into the purchase process, is you have the option to purchase what we call our annual add-on update. So if you purchase the course ordinarily, where you may have 4 months to be able to access that course, if that ceased, say that 4-month period ceased in May of 2022, you now would need to naturally go and get yourself up to speed with the changes from the 1st of July 2022. Now, you may have completed that course previously, but the add-on service allows you to have ongoing access to the course, and then you would be naturally told about the changes that have occurred from the 1st of July, and therefore you may be going back and completing module 3 again, not necessarily for CPD to get another certificate, but it just gives you a resource to go in and go, okay, I can now see what these changes are, and now I can actually go and apply that in the work that I need to do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Or you could, within that additional resource library, is what people have been using it for, is to go look at the workbooks which are available for each of the modules, and they'll search a particular topic or a calculation method and easily find it and have the confidence that it's up to date as well.
Yep. All right, so David, let's now move in and have a bit of a chat about the journey. So I guess what to expect when you become a member.
All right, or even prior to that, people will make an inquiry about CPD, and it is all about, well, what's your particular need? Is it simply a top up of hours, or do you need a greater range of knowledge areas and interests? So that's where we start to have a bit of a discussion about, well, how far do you think the CPD? So it's not a pay-as-you-go scenario. It may be a subscription.
Yeah, and we've got a flow chart we'll show people later, and we're
exactly.
actually going to build that into a wizard on the website as a self-assessment tool to actually help you along the way as well.
So once you've become a member, it's all about being the access to all the events and getting email notifications, hence confirming your email address with us in the first instance, so it's not going to be missed. It's got to arrive directly at you. So once those emails are invited, you can click to register. If you are a member, you are most instances automatically registered anyway. If and on that note, you'll be reminded of a Zoom meeting, of the event, the time, the date, and that you will be receiving the slides and a copy of the recording as well.
Yep. And then we have, I guess, a process that deals with the not only, I guess, pre-webinar, but then post-webinar as well. Feedback is a core part of everything that we do. And then, yeah, if we've got any other instructions and so forth, but we will always try and endeavor to get that anything that relates to that session to you prior, noting that people may want to print presentation slides out or something that they can follow along with. Sometimes, yep, sure, it may happen that you don't get it before. We would typically send a follow-up and you've got access there. But like anything, if for some reason it's missing, you just get on the phone to us or drop us an email and we'll get that through to you as well.
Yeah, and that was important for those at the face-to-face events just recently,
Yep.
where they are able to bring their mobile devices and follow what you're presenting online.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you attend, yeah, we've got a CPD certificate that naturally occurs. So we've built some automation around that process. So you will get that typically within the 2 business days. And we have a process again for members. Not only do you get the initial invite and you get the reminder, as David touched upon early, you would also get the message to say that the recording would be available, or naturally you can just go into the site and you'll be able to see the access to that. And again, we'll go and show you shortly what that actually looks like.
And there's a lot of benefits of that membership where there are unexpected events occur where you can't make the webinar on that day. Yep. So feel comfortable then that you've got the membership, that it's actually housed in your learning suite, that you can go and access that at your own time.
Yeah, and we're very deliberate in changing days. We'll typically be Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday that we'll run our CPD training, recognizing that putting it on at the same time may actually impinge on someone being able to attend all of those times. So we will typically run them at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time throughout the sort of the winter, I'll call it the winter and the either side of the winter period. When we move on a daylight savings point of view, we will move that to 12 o'clock. We have a very strong presence of members in Western Australia. So for our Perth friends, we don't want to be getting you up any earlier around the training. I think one time, David, in COVID, we ran a full day virtual event and we did start at 9 a.m., which meant our Perth friends needed to be up at 6 a.m. for session 1. So there was a few toothpicks by the end of the day for those, but we do recognise that we do have an Australia-wide membership. I think we have members pretty much in every state and territory. So accommodating everyone is important, which is why we typically will see a shift, not only in the days, but the times as those time zones do change as well.
All right. I was looking at, and actually just quickly back at that last slide, I noticed that that second last dot point there, I get a lot of calls, and it's very well attended, your tax planning webinar in May with the I think it was what, a 35-page checklist.
Yes, checklist.
Yeah, it's very popular. So it's not just a webinar. There are other supportive resources that depending on the topic, we may include.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point as a prompt, because it's not only those things like the checklist, but our changing face of SMSF every quarter has a workbook that goes with it as well. So you are looking at around 2 CPD hours for what is a 1-hour webinar, because in addition to the training, there are, there's 19, anywhere between maybe 15 and 25 pages of content that really draw out in much more detail, again, from what we may have covered in the session itself. So let's go across to the Smarter SMSF platform, our learning platform, and show you and navigate around the site. So David, hopefully we can now see the dashboard.
We can.
And I will get you to talk, and I'm happy to navigate.
It's important to log in to the Smarter Learning, not the account, when you've got your login as a member. And you may arrive initially at the purple dashboard, but clicking on the learn,
Yep.
that section will actually open up into the learning suite.
So one thing, I guess, just to help people understand what we're doing here is we are using single sign-on across from training platforms to our document platform. So you can seamlessly work through those things. You may have memberships, not only in CPD, but documents. So you will be able to click through and go backwards and forwards to particular areas. And then you may see the color change. We do that more from a branding perspective, but importantly, your login will seamlessly migrate you from one to the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this screen is an example of multiple areas, as in a dashboard. So you can see quite easily now that what sessions you're perhaps going to enroll in. If you've got the foundation course, that's what the default is in this screen here today.
Yep.
A quick check of the number of hours, the courses you've attended, and you can literally dive in from the menu on the left-hand side or through access on the buttons on that front screen. So,
yep.
And
let's go. So you can see there, if we go across to the courses, then we have access to the full course there, or if people are looking at it in an individual module sense as well. So again, just to show you from the course point of view, and you've got the course outline and so forth. So it recognizes, in this instance, obviously I'm an administrator, but it will recognize whether you are enrolled, whether it needs to be purchased, whether you are engaged in it, so continue study, and yeah, go from there.
And we have actually built some additional resources, an instruction guide with all of this step by step. So
yeah, and actually we might go there. So if we go across to our knowledge base here, so you can see the knowledge base. And so if you just typed in foundations course, if I can spell, you've got a full user guide. So course outline and then user guide there that will step you through and explain what that process actually looks like.
Yep, right from the get-go, from logging in.
So you can see there the change from purple across to green, and then you basically will follow that bouncing ball.
Yeah. So if you've got your login and away, if you've purchased that particular course, and away you go.
Yep.
So we're at here now a summary of webinars. Now I might point out that it's not just the current future that you're actually potentially enrolling in an event. As a member, you've got access to the back catalogue library as well. Correct. So if you're looking at making up some CPD hours, an opportunity to do so, becoming a member. I mentioned about the tax planning webinar and getting access to that checklist. Well, you can do so. You can go back and find it very easily in the list and click on the link to look at the potential webinar if it's there, or if it's a series of workbooks to download those, watch the material, watch the webinar, and then take the quiz. And once the quiz is completed and you've passed, then automatically then the next stage is the allocation of your CPD certificate.
So each of these webinar-based training sessions have a consistent framework. So that framework is, if we go back to our initial page, to our webinars page, is from here, we will have our course outline or our training outline of what that training session is. And I might stick to this one. So you'll see in here what we're talking about. You'll see when the webinar was recorded, and you'll see the progress of that. But what you'll have is the lesson, which is the recording or recordings in some instances. We may have more than one. And then we have the assessment that would go with that needs to be satisfactorily completed. And when that quiz has been completed, along with having watched that particular module. So here we're into the module, you would watch how that is done. We don't just use the Zoom file, we actually edit that. So you can see, a lot of people prefer to see the visual of me. I don't know why, but anyway, that's a separate story. But you can hear, you can associate better with the visual of me being on the screen talking through some of these topics. And then you have your materials there. So again, the slides and the checklist that we were just talking about before, when that task is actually completed. you would then go and complete that assessment. And once that assessment is also done, you will then see at the top, the certificate is then now saying, now that you've successfully watched the module or watched the lesson webinar, successfully completed the quiz, you can now download your CPD certificate, which automatically generates for you, and it will populate in here the individual, the topic, the category for accreditation purposes, and the date that that was awarded, with a breakdown of that allocation as well. So that is a PDF that you can simply then download, and will recognize the the CPD that has been awarded in that sense. Now you do, from an assessment point of view, as it explains down here, the hours that it will take, and then a certificate of which then it will outline how many attempts that you have to successfully complete that assessment. Now, the other thing just around the assessment is that we have a pool of questions. Typically with a 1 hour webinar, there will be 5 questions that you must complete. You will have 10 minutes, so 2 minutes per question. There are not just 5 questions. There will be a pool, maybe between 8 to 10 when we look at webinars, so that we are simply not letting you, if you fail the first time, to go back in and try the different option until you get there. So there is some obligation imposed on you to ensure that you have read and understood all of the things, and the way which we develop those questions may equally be looking at content within the webinar, but it may equally be looking at content within the additional resources that we are providing to you as well. And then I guess back to the main page. So if I go back to the webinars page, you will also see in here a description of what we obviously are covering in there, and a little bit more detail. These are fully searchable. So if I just look at the term residency, you'll see here, it's then picked up the topic, and then you can go in and find a little bit further about that topic. It might be LRBA or something. So again, you're getting some information in here. So we will keep things up to date to the extent to which CPD can be awarded, 1, and 2, we will be updating and keeping things here based upon the current relevancy of that particular topic. So if we have something like deductions or insurance or NALI or a trust deed, these are all things that will probably have relevance for some time. And it's only when that legislation may have changed, where we might not have recovered a topic, will we then remove that content, because obviously we would be providing something to you that would be inaccurate, I guess, in its current form, or we'd be providing you with some additional detail within that to say, well, such and such a part of this webinar has been amended, and we can reference that within the course content itself. So yeah, so that in essence is the process in there for you to be able to navigate around and access those webinars. And as we touched on at the very beginning, we do expect to have that live recording up and available within about 2 days after that course, after that training session that was delivered live has been completed.
And if there is a problem, a webinar you can't access, or you can't get to the quiz, there's a link on the left-hand side under the support area that you can send us an email, screen print, and pretty much if you become a member, you've already spoken to me and got my number anyway. So
yeah, and the other thing is we've right across our platform, we've got these what we call beacons. So you can always go in and ask the question. So you've got multiple ways in which you can get in contact with us, emailing support@smartersmsf.com, naturally giving us a ring, but any phone call that we have that is in essence requiring some level of support will go in to our ticketing system. So hence, I guess, why we're talking about the importance of this this system, because it will be a logged ticket that you will need to that we will follow and therefore ensure that's closed off. If you're wanting to check what support tickets are there, if there may be multiple that could be open, you might be looking at not only training but documents and other things. there is a repository, I guess, of your account that would enable you to see what is going on. But from the training point of view, you can then see here on the right-hand side a progress based upon the training that has been done. So you can see in here the number of courses or topics, webinars that I've completed, the number of certificates that have been issued, and therefore the number of CPD points that have been awarded as well. So you've got the tools here that you need to go back, and if you need to go and complete your CPD requirements for whatever professional body that you have, you've got the ability to go back in. If you've completed them through this process via the platform, go in, you can download that at any time, and you can get some further information about that within your profile that you can see on the screen here. So that's just a much larger visual representation of what I was showing you on the dashboard page. So David, anything else that we want to cover from within the site before we head back to the slides?
If just something that's not in the slides that does come to mind is the you will be getting a renewal at the end, closer to the end of your subscription if it's up for renewal. I'll just look at the My Account where you can go in and manage that with your details, changing address, emails, those sorts of things.
Yeah, and in addition to the My Account there, you do have where you log into the platform, your account subscription information. So your memberships that you have, you will access that through the main site under My Account. So if you have expired credit cards, if you want to upgrade or alter a subscription package, you will do that through the My Account here. And then we can navigate you through from within the platform back to there. But it is important to note that it is the My Account, because you are purchasing the subscription through the shopping cart that sits on our main site. That is where any alterations and updates and so forth do need to be made. All right, let's head back to our slides. So hopefully that's come up on the screen now, David.
Yes.
Yep. All right. So benefits of subscription. What do you reckon? You can have a crack at this.
All right. Yeah. We've covered pretty much all those, so we can move quite quickly through here. That invite to all those webinars. We've seen that there are actual benefits to additional events, as in the virtual and the face-to-face. You offered a series of discounts as time leading up to those face-to-face events, which
and I think that's a really good example. So our members, if we use our SMSF days, so our standard ticket price is around $500. And yes, we do have some early birds and some sort of partner deals and so forth. But the ticket that you will get as a member is cheaper than any other offer that we have, or is as cheap and is the same price right through until the event. So as a member, you have a member rate that is accessible throughout the time in which tickets will be available, unless they get sold out, which is what's happened in a couple of locations. So we still encourage our members to register early, but it is a benefit of being a member, whether we do host face-to-face and live virtual events and so forth, there will always be a member benefit that is provided there as well.
Further on, we've got our the learning platform itself. So you've got your playback. If you're unable, we've already discussed about not being able to attend. It's there in the library for you. The workbooks, the slides, the CPD quizzes, the certificates, discounts to the foundation course as well, and the add-on module. Your own log, that's important. If you've got some other compliant requirements with other organisations, you can easily, people can access. You can provide logs to show that you've actually met those required hours.
Yeah, so those certificates that we were just showing online, pretty much.
And we've already seen that you can actually go in and find information and topics within the resource library and the webinars, pretty easy from a search function. And it is, I've got a number of, I take a number of calls on the technicalities of all sorts of scenarios. And there's an extension of that provided within one of our memberships under the technical support. And just on that, well, keep that slide up, but there's
Yep.
also a need for, and you touched on this earlier, Aaron, there's a number of staff members within a business looking for CPD. Do we have that available? Yes, we do. And we'll look at that in a couple of slides from here on the CPD business.
Yeah. So David, one of the things that as you talk to potential members and so forth is like what membership actually works for me. And one of the things that you've now mud mapped out in essence is helping people to work through that journey, and you've done this in this flow chart here, and I think one of the things that we now will look to do is to bring this into a wizard on the side as well. But you want to give a quick explanation of what, how, and where people will come and land into one of those four boxes on the bottom of the screen.
Joe, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get all of those details on the screen, but in essence, it is those questions about, well, what's my need? Is it simply topping up some hours that you may end up ultimately in a CPD quarter option? Is there a number of topics that you've seen in the calendar? Can I buy that into that webinar as a pay-as-you-go? There's a number of topics that I'm going to be interested in or finding out further. Then working through this flow chart, you derive at a CPD regular where you've bought a package of hours and events. The CPD business with 5 members within a business looking for individual certificates. So that's something to note, that if you do have a membership, it is for perhaps yourself, and only you are able to access the CPD certificates and that knowledge. If it is to go to other members in the team or staff members, a CPD business option is something to investigate and look at.
Yep.
And I mentioned about having someone that you can go to for technical support. There is the CPD and support option as well.
Yep. So let's just quickly have a look at our subscription packages. There were some small increments to our monthly and annual subscription fees from the 1st of July 2022. But what I can say, hand on heart, is that the monthly subscription process is a substantially much cheaper process to access when compared to our standard PAYG price. And that is a key part of our model, whether it is subscription on training or subscription on documents. The benefits of a regular subscription will far outweigh going through and purchasing some of these on an individual basis. Now, we do have them available in both a per month or a per annum arrangement. So you can see here our CPD regular is $80 per month, or what in essence would have been $960 if it's paid on a monthly basis, but we do have a discount of $800 plus GST per annum if you pay it on an annual basis. Importantly, and David did touch on this just before, they are either relevant in a single user or in a multiple use sense. So understanding who needs certification for CPD purposes is critical, which is why we are continuing to see more businesses look at alternate options like CPD Business rather than just CPD regular. So understanding what's required in your organization is crucial to that. And you can see also on this page some of the minimum CPD hours that we commit to be able to support you in those particular packages as well.
And Aaron, there might be somebody who's enrolled, and I'll have a quick look at seeing who has enrolled and a little bit of their history of that they're purchasing an individual event. And I might give them a call and say, well, did you realize that you've bought a number already, but from an economic perspective, moving to perhaps the CPD regular option is a lot more economical. And you break it down, it's going to be working out at about $53 a webinar, where the average pay-as-you-go is about 140 per event. And even with the CPD business, you're looking at about $27 a webinar for 5 members. So it's priced pretty well for the deliveries.
Yep. So one of the things that we have done is, I guess, to kick off the new financial year, is that we have put together a limited special offer. So for those of you that may be interested in looking at one of our CPD regular packages, CPD packages, I should say, that we have gone through and explored today, whether it's CPD regular, CPD business and support, you can apply our coupon code that you can see there that will in essence give you that first month free. And then you will get the benefit of the rollover of that month, and then in essence get what I would say 13 months for the first 12 that you pay. From an annual perspective, if you do it on an annual basis, we will make that adjustment to you, whereby the renewal, so you would pay for the renewal and you would pay for it up front, but the renewal in the back end, if we assumed that it was going to be done today, which is the 29th of July, we would change that renewal date to the 29th of August for you. So in essence, you get exactly the same treatment, but it's the renewal date that changes as opposed to the first payment if it was done on a monthly basis. So if you've got any questions around that, you can get in contact with David here. All of his details are on the screen, and we encourage you to take advantage of this offer, which is only available until the 5th of August. So David, I want you to now go through a couple of scenarios that we see, every day, every week, every month, around the decision making that we see within firms, and then ultimately where they land in our product structure.
Yep. So we've got Jackie with a team of 8 people, and they're CPD training on a regular basis, watching online in a boardroom, training room, discussing the assessments and the material. So scenario 1 is due to, well, now not just the COVID, it's actually now become a bit of a norm where people are actually splitting their time between the office and their home office. So the ability for everybody in that team to come together and regularly discuss and be a part of a training environment is quite challenging. So having access online is what we're here for, and having those individual descriptions does limit the ability for that staff to access that training. So that's where Jackie has decided to look at the CPD business option. As I mentioned earlier, that it does cover up to 5 members accessing that training. They can do it across a Zoom meeting all in one go, or if there is remote and people are split, then they can watch it in their own time because they have access, they've got their login to their individual CPD Learning Suite library.
Yep, absolutely. And the flip side of that is obviously going down that path of, we were one organization and we had one subscription, and it kind of CPD wasn't really a problem. But as individuals have grown in their role and their knowledge, their obligations for CPD become equally important.
Correct. So here we've got Jackie has that individual description, but and is accessing her training. But there's a number of now the new staff, as you mentioned, now requiring CPD access. They've moved up within their business, so their areas of knowledge is now growing as well, and all their associated requirements with accounting bodies. So she's looking again at a CPD package of CPD business would suit that resource.
Yeah, and the shift that we find here is you pick up graduates, and the CPD, they're only going on the journey of becoming a chartered accountant or a CPA or IPA member or FPA or whatever it is, but then they go in and start to do their professional year or their CPA, and so therefore their continuing development obligations are kind of met through that process of learning and obtaining the standard that they need and will utilize in their industry. But it then becomes, well, actually, we now have obligations imposed on us to be able to hold that accreditation or standing that they now have in the industry. And therefore, Jackie, in this instance, who may have been ticking all the boxes that she needed for herself, And she might have been doing the right thing by incorporating all the staff in that training to be able to access the subscription and keep their knowledge up. But that now no longer ticks the box for, Toby or Jenny or whoever else in there who now are 3, 4, 5 years into the journey and may have started as graduates, and they're now managers in that organization and have their own CPD obligations that they must keep up to date with. And therefore, that shift from maybe single to multiple subscriptions here, noting that there's no real change that they might need on an ongoing basis from the training that we're providing, but it's just that they need their own accredited certification around that to meet their ongoing obligations for CPD purposes.
And it comes down to cost as well. If I'm a manager and I've got 2 staff members, it might be a bit more economical to go out from the individual CPD regular to that CPD business option.
Yep. Okay. So I guess as we get towards the end, it's just, we do get a range of FAQs, and I think we've covered some of these things as well, but I might fire some of these at you, David, and go from there. So I think, we see a lot of people naturally working at desks and laptops and so forth, but it's not the only way in which people can access our platform generally.
Correct. And in fact, I had somebody only recently where they had it's been an old link for their mobile device, a tablet. So we were able to rectify that. But yeah, they wanted to use that outside the office on the way home or at an airport or somewhere like that. So it is fully across a number of mobile devices. The relevance is important as well. As you already mentioned, Aaron, back at the beginning of the session. It's a huge range of people having a need and having access to their training and knowledge.
And so therefore we'll kind of reference to you in the description about where we'll be pitching that information, and therefore who might come to different things. So you might have the partner that might find that relevant for the quarterly updates, make sure they're across the stuff. We may have things like, again, our foundations course that is all about kind of moving people, lifting people up to be able to keep doing the job that they need to do as well.
That third question is always asked.
Yep.
Who does that? What does that apply? Where was it the certificates for? We can see those listed on the screen there.
And earlier we spoke about the various mapping on that certificate when we completed that tax planning in the live demo earlier on.
And we've covered, who can actually access that CPD and certificate allocation. So yeah, quite clearly it's for the individual, and the CPD business option is there for, investigate it further if there's a number of staff members and their needs.
Yep. Yeah. And I guess finally they're, purchasing a ticket to attend one webinar request. So yes, there is obviously the opportunity to do so, but it is an economics thing. As David spoke about before, you've only got to look at something like our SMSF tax planning session, which we do charge $180 plus GST, because we do have that hugely valuable 35 pages it was this year tax planning checklist in addition to the recording. So subscription, you're paying $80 a month or $800 per annum. And in essence, you've got $600 left of value right across the rest of the year. So, so the benefits of subscription here, we do put a lot of value into that, and to ensure that you do feel like a member and get access to all the things that you would expect as a member, to ensure that you can continue to focus on what you do best as well. So, David, let's have a quick wrap up from today's session. So we know that being busy is a huge challenge to keeping up to date. So succinct delivery of training that enables you to go, I need an hour of my time to get myself up to speed with some additional materials that can enable you to go back and check, or delivered in a way in which enables you to choose the right and appropriate time to undertake and set aside the training that you need to keep yourself moving as well, is critical. But we know it's a challenge. So therefore, it's not only the timing of that information, the type of information we provide to you, but the flexibility that comes with it as well, hopefully gets you over the hump of keeping up to date, which, as I stated again at the very beginning, is the number one challenge facing practitioners today.
And
Also,
I've seen people,
yep.
and on that note, Aaron, I have seen a number of people who have come, prior to the end of the financial year saying, I need hours, I need hours. So they're approaching us perhaps in the wrong context, but I have seen once they have a membership that they're actually regularly attending the webinars.
Yeah,
And
so you actually
their
get
library.
the shift. You do get the mind shift in the end. So they might have come for one reason, but now they're like, all right, I'm not going to fall into that trap again. And that's part of what we're here to do, is to not fall into that trap by doing that on an ongoing basis. The other thing is about investing in your team. So making sure that you continue to not only give you the knowledge, but also others the knowledge around the ongoing success that they will be able to have. And retention is becoming a critical issue naturally in our industry as well, but enabling the type of conversations that can be had with clients is important. So what you look like as an employer of choice and how you can deliver training is certainly going to be a key characteristic of enticing and retaining employees in your business as well. We spoke about timing, relevancy to your role, and what you can do and provide for your clients. We have various options available to you to ensure that you can do that. And ultimately, the benefit of doing this is about leveraging our SMSF specialization, the technology in which we do it, and that's not only in the training, but right across the broad spectrum of products that we do integrations with BGL and class and stuff as well, that most importantly helps to support your clients to comply with the regulations cost effectively. So that is pretty much it. A copy of the slides and feedback and so forth will be available shortly. I always say smart people learn together. We do have a range of upcoming sessions. You can go to our Smarter SMSF website. You can view those there. You can download the event calendar as well, but you can see there some of the sessions that we have coming up. Thank you to you, David, for your time today.
Thank you, Aaron. Yes, I noticed that there's one seat still available for Perth as well.
Yeah, so we are looking forward to next week getting on the road for what is our last two legs of what has been a hugely successful SMSF roadshow, around 170 odd people attending across those 5 locations. And we might have some exciting news to announce in the next week or so as well about our SMSF Day events in an online form. So thank you everyone for attending today's session. If you do have any other questions that you might have around our CPD packages and the solutions that we provide in this place, please feel free to get in contact with us. You can do so either by calling us or sending us an email or even through our ticketing service. But once again, thank you for finding out more about our Smarter range of CPD packages. Thank you to you, David, for your time today. And we look forward to seeing you at a Smarter SMSF event in the near future. Take care and bye for now.